Peace. I'd like to welcome you back into another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I'm your Foul Player. Wanted to make a short Giants video regarding um, Gettleman primarily, but the fact that we just re-signed Williams, our defensive tackle, and what my thoughts on it. My displeasure mostly because I didn't want that dude in here. But I'll just get into it. I've said it in the past, and I'll say it again that like Dave Gettleman has gotten way, way, way too much rope with this Giants franchise. I mean, like I've, and this is from somebody who actually has appreciated some of the draft picks that Gettleman has made or picked, but not the top of any of Gettleman's drafts. Like I was against him signing Daniel Jones. I was against him getting or drafting Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and I was definitely against him trading for Leonard Williams from the Jets because now I mean like we're stuck having to sign him and Leonard Williams. I mean, in spite of him having his best year ever by far, is just a regular ass player to me. Like I mean, and we're signing him with the we had to hit him with the franchise tag twice. So this is the second franchise tag. So we're probably gonna be paying him 20 million, maybe more, for just the franchise. And if we were to sign him, I mean, he's not gonna sign for anything less than like 18 million a year. And Leonard Williams is no way near an 18 million a year player. I could get 10 defensive tackles that I take over Leonard Williams. I mean, like, and this is an aberration. Leonard Williams is a quarterback pressure guy. He's not a sack guy. He's never been a sack guy. Leonard Williams also disappeared at the end of this past year. He did nothing. Like when we had to win games and get into the playoffs, he was nowhere to be found. Um, I'd rather run with Tomlinson, who I'm not like crazy about either. BJ Hill also, I mean, I think he had decent potential, but not the best. Lawrence and just try to and Dexter Lawrence and try to sign a guy or draft a guy with a little bit of bend rather than trying to get our pass rush off of Williams. And Williams, I mean, to me, he's a little bit of a I mean, he just doesn't have that motor all the time. I'm not gonna say he's a bum, but I wouldn't sign Leonard Williams for more than 14 million after this year. I said 12 before, and that was before he had this big year for him for by his standards. I mean, by any standards, I'm not gonna front. But Leonard Williams, he's just not worth it to me. But that's just a dumb signing by the guy who brought him here in Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman, I don't like none of Dave Gettleman's free agent signings. I don't like any of his early draft picks. With the free agent signings, a lot of people are like, oh well, Blake Martinez. I didn't like Blake Martinez either. Like I know Blake Martinez had a lot of tackles, but he's not a good. He's zero in coverage. But also, I mean, like you could you don't pay that much for a run stuffing essentially linebacker, and we're kind of like gonna be stuck with him. Like I mean, he played really well this year, but that production is gonna be diminishing soon. I mean, you could probably count on that being next year, maybe, but it's just like right now as it currently stands. I mean, we unless we make a bunch of cuts, we have zero in the way of cap room right now. I mean, we may be like at like zero, maybe 10 million in cap space right now. We're gonna have to make a bunch of cuts this year. Not like that. We're like that. I'm crying over who we're gonna be cutting because there's not a lot of quality on this giant roster. But I think if there was anywhere where we could have gambled in the draft to try to fill roles, would have been more on the defense. Particularly when we have no pass rush, like as far as on the edges. Um, I thought it would have been better to gamble on like on edge rushers or some edge rushers and let Williams walk. Replace Williams with what we have in the roster as is, and work more along the offense. I mean, like right now we're pretty set on defense. If you, but I think even with Williams' departure and not addressing defensive tackle in the draft, that we could have held up and maybe even improve upon that defense by addressing the edge rush. But this, I mean, Daniel Jones, if somebody in the vein of Kellen Mond were to slip into the later portion of the second round, I mean, I would totally be for drafting somebody like Kellen Mond in the Giants situation. I mean, like, and I don't want to be unfair because a lot of quarterbacks suffer through that sophomore slump, but Daniel Jones did look lost this past year, and had a little bit of an injury factor to him. Didn't really improve on the giving away the ball as far as fumbling issues, in addition to kind of like being a little bit worse as far as interceptions go or throwing riskier balls. But I don't think Gettleman's gonna look in that direction because that's his guy. I mean, like, and we took a big gamble like with Daniel Jones, and it really hasn't paid off. The Giants fans are very opposed to giving any bad vibrations like to Gettleman or really like go through his moves with a fine comb or like they just don't want to sound judgy with him like like Joe Judge. I mean, do I like what he's done? Like what he's done since he's been with the Giants in his first year? Yeah, I do like him. But if that's an aberration, I mean, we're gonna have a GM that's gonna be out the door if Judge has a bad year next year, or if we have a bad next year, and you're gonna have a coach that's 1 foot away from being lame duck. If Gettleman happens to, you know, get the boot, or if Daniel Jones takes another step back next year, and a lot of this has been done by the moves by Gettleman. Signing Nate Solder. Nate Solder was a bum before he left. Like that year that we got Nate Solder, he was a bum. He was a bum in New England that final year. They let him go for a reason, and we gave him a record high contract for a lineman. And he got here, and he was a bum immediately. We may have to sign another tackle, like and take a $6 million dead cap hit. Like if we let go of Solder, that's even if we let him go. Like it's just a mess. Like our line is not better. Like not at all. Like I mean Thomas, I wanted them to draft Thomas. I mean unfortunately he played a little bit less than I anticipated. I mean but he was thrown into the left tackle spot like in year one. But who else on the line? Like I mean like is your guy if you're a Giant fan. I mean Hernandez has taken a step back almost every year. Would I keep him? Maybe. I mean, but he ain't gonna play left guard. Maybe a rotation or a right guard guy. You still got to fill a hole at right tackle. Maybe if you sign somebody for an ass load of money, you swing Thomas to the right tackle spot. I mean, it's just a mess. Like I don't know what's happening as far as Zeitler goes. Like he played pretty trashy this year. Um, I don't know. I mean, these are all moves, that were done by Gettleman, and how we didn't sign, I mean, or draft wide receivers last year is beyond me. It was a one of the best wide receiver classes that I've seen, especially in the lower levels. You're not gonna like a lot of the guys that went in the later rounds. You're gonna start hearing about them this year and next year for this past draft. And we didn't make an investment into the draft at all. Like, I mean, like we got a lot of a couple undrafted guys, and they're all like pretty much the same kind of guys that we already had on the roster. These like small, like little, itsy receivers. We don't have a number one receiver right now, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna cut Golden Tate. Um, and he wasn't a number one receiver too. So it's just a mess. It's a mess that quite possibly. Nah, I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say that their situation could look worse than the Jets, but the Giants' defense is actually pretty good, and that's not because we re-signed Williams. I think they would have been almost as good with letting Williams walk. But with that Williams money, I mean, you could have signed filled two holes of great need rather than like keeping a position of strength. You know, could have signed, drafted like Timon out of Pitt. Maybe in the third round, and now you have a nice rotation of defensive tackles, and let Williams walk, and then use that money to sign any receiver. I mean, like, there's no receiver that's going to be paid 19 million in this free agent class. Maybe homeboy from the Bears, will, like, the receiver is going to get 13, 14 million at best. You still have 6 million from that Williams money after you deduct 14 million to sign a really good guard or center. Just a mess. I really hope that they go into this draft and off season really, really, really looking to improve the offense. I don't know why they didn't invest into the offensive side of the ball in this last draft. It was I was having a nightmare like in the end of last year's draft when they kept going after linebackers. I mean, it was terrible, you know. But and like the thing is too, like, I don't care like what you draft. Like, ultimately, if these guys start, and a lot of those linebackers, with the exception of one, the guy from Penn State, I forget his name, didn't get a lot of burn anyway. Like these rooks, you know, they were more like special teams guys. Like these Rockets, like that you sending down in special teams plays. But I mean, you the smart move would have been to go after wide receivers who you could run at special teams, and see which one of them pans out in the later portion of the draft. And if they don't pan out, then you still have like guys that you could send flying down the field in kickoffs and punt returns, whatever. But maybe you fill a starting position or find a starting wide receiver. We made no investment into the wide receiver position last year, but hopefully it's different this year. But Gettleman's a scrub. We got to get rid of Gettleman. And like, hopefully he's not around next year. But knowing the Giants, I mean, like, he's probably gonna get 7 wins, and they're gonna make it seem like his hog molly or old school tactics are what got us over the hump. But let me know what you guys think. With that, I'm out. Thanks for checking me out. Peace.